All right, well, I'm here at the Durham Literacy Center with Rebecca Schaeffer. Rebecca, thank you for being here today. Just want to ask you a couple of questions here about alphabetics instruction. And if you could tell us, please, what does alphabetics instruction look like inside your evidence-based reading class?
Sure. So, when I have a class where we have students who need alphabetics instruction, I typically follow the scope and sequence that's provided in the Susan McShane Applying Research and Reading Instruction for Adults. And one of the appendices, it's actually Appendix B, she gives a nice overview of the content of phonics instruction. And she goes through everything that you would need to teach from someone who has no knowledge or very little working knowledge of phonics up through your more advanced readers. Typically, for a student to be in one of our class settings, they already have the basics mastered. They may have a few spots we need to review. So if there's a few different letter sound relationships that we need to practice, we might do that using multisensory methods such as the baking sheet with the graphemes on little tiles, and have students manipulate these to create words, and have them read words that we've set apart. So typically that would not be necessary for most of our students in a group setting, but if you had something like the PH making the f sound, or the CH, the times when it doesn't make a ch sound but rather a k sound, we might pull out some of these more basic tools to work through those. We might also reinforce that with a carpet square. So if I were teaching a student that the CH can make the k sound in words of Greek origin, I might have the student use two fingers. Research shows that that seems to be what works best, to write the CH letter combination on the carpet square while making the sound aloud. So k. And they would do that several times in a row. And they would do that each lesson while we're focusing on that topic. And what that does is it just sends some more information to the brain in a different way, so that it helps students to create those neural pathways. So that's one thing that we like a lot. Another thing that we do is to kind of make it fun. We try to use different things, like we might have a student create a word using one of the letter sound combinations that we've done and pass it to another student to read, and go back and forth that way to practice something that we've already taught. We also have sound dice, and we have typically syllable dice as well. We also have syllable cards, where the students mix and match to create words and then read them. And all of these kind of multisensory things just make it a little bit more interesting and fun for the students. And it also helps them to take in the information in different ways. For students who are at the more intermediate level, we really focus on the 6 syllable types and the syllabication rules. And the idea for all of these things is not to teach the rules as though they have to remember this verbatim, but rather we want them to recognize patterns. Try it this way. If that doesn't work, then try this way. And our primary tool for using that for us here at the Durham Literacy Center is the Mega Word series. The very first book in the series covers all 6 syllable types and the 5 major syllabication rules. And so for those who have less training in this, it's a really nice resource. And even if you decided you didn't want to teach using it, actually giving these materials to your students, you could learn it using this or another resource. Anything we use is primarily Orton Gillingham based, which means that it's multisensory, it's based on all the best evidence. It is very effective for adult learners and how they learn. It's lots of repetition, it's systematic, it builds skills in a very particular order. For example, one of the things that McShane talks about is if you're teaching students how to blend sounds together into a word, it's really good to start with a sound that you can drag out into the vowel sound. So s, m, l. These sounds you can drag, and it makes it much easier to blend. Whereas if you start with b or k, like dog, or d, like in dog or cat, those are really difficult sounds to blend, and we often do that thinking dog and cat, those will be great words to start with. So if you start with McShane, follow what she recommends, and then you find a pretty good resource like MegaWords or any Orton Gillingham based resource out there that can really guide you. The STAR Toolkit also has some really good resources on it, as does the App State website.
Show us maybe a little bit how you might use the syllable card. How might that
Sure.
look in a lesson?
Sure, sure. So if I were teaching students how to, let's say we were looking at syllabication rules, and one of the syllabication rules, one of the first ones, is that if you have a word that has two consonants in the middle that have a vowel on either side of them, that you're first going to divide between those two consonants. To reinforce that, I might have syllable cards like this where I put them together to show that this is the word plastic and have them read that. That's a word that's probably familiar to most students. And then we'll separate it and we'll talk about the fact that when you have this word together, you have two consonants here, on either side of them are two vowels. And so it's something which is pre-given that this is how this word is formed and this is how it's separated. So when you're pronouncing it, you say plastic, plastic. Okay, so you're going to first start here, then later you're going to show that word on one card. So that kind of scaffolding of all having it be divided already is taken away. They see the word on one card, and you teach them how to use their finger to kind of swoop between the two syllables and divide them in between that S and T. And so I might do that with, say, 5 different words, have them pull it apart, have it put it together, and then look at them on single cards. And then on a one page have all 5 words written so that it's systematically kind of going through and making it a little bit more independent. And then I would give them words that they hadn't seen this way and have them divide it following that rule. So
Syllable dice, similar to
same
that?
thing, exactly. And they can roll those and they can put it together to see does it make a word or not. And how do they know? How do they know how to pronounce that? How would they divide it? Write the word that you've produced and divide it out. Say it. Is that a real word or not? What else? I think that's about it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Very helpful.